Welcome back to the 12th Man podcast, and welcome back to another episode where we will be talking about Liverpool stretching 11 points clear at the top of the Premier League as the league over. Have Arsenal lost any hope of being able to reel in Liverpool? It certainly looks that way at the moment. We'll also look back at the rest of the weekend's results. Of course, Arsenal losing to West Ham at home, a big shock result. We'll look back elsewhere where there was a lot of VAR drama in the Everton and Man United. Should Everton's penalty have stood, or was it rightly overturned? Spurs got back. They won in ways we've seen in the last couple of weeks, and that's now 3-1 in a row away at Ipswich as European qualifications still possible through the league if they can get that consistency. And we'll look back at our results. Of course, Villa beat Chelsea 2-1. Chelsea continuing to struggle. Newcastle 4-1 up and in a position of comfort. Forest made them work very hard towards the end. That finished 4-3. We'll look at the risk for Europe, and obviously there's midweek football this week in the Premier League. 10 games over Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll preview and predict those. So, Owen, how are you, sir? I can imagine you're very happy, but if you fast forward, we'll rewind back actually about 10 days ago. You were feeling that Liverpool could collapse after that Everton result. But they get 4 points from Villa and Man City. And it looks now like, only Liverpool can lose the league now from here.
Aye, it shows you a lot can happen in 10, 15 days or so. I was ranting and raving at that Everton game, but I think it was just because it was Everton, and I just I can't stick them. But no, and then obviously I didn't expect Arsenal. I didn't expect Arsenal to lose on Saturday, which nobody did, to be fair. So that sort of gave me a boost going into the City game, and the fact that we won there, I think that's a big statement because for years Gary Neville's been saying, "Oh, you don't necessarily need to go there and win," but it's a statement. Like we've beat them, we've done the double over them, like, and Slot's the first manager to ever do the double for Man City.
First ever. They did double
I
over
think
Man City.
first ever under Pep. Sorry. So Klopp didn't do it, and then obviously, and so
Liverpool
Slot,
just beat Spurs to the punch, yeah. Spurs playing now
yeah.
next day.
Aye,
That's
there's
an
a
interesting. That's an interesting stat. There you go.
so
Liverpool, the first team to do a double over Pep's Man City. Owen, I mean, I was a wee bit worried for Liverpool after the Villa game because I thought they looked tired again. And I know they had great chances, particularly Jota and Nunes, but Villa were really pushing for a winner towards the end. They looked tired. They didn't play that well against Everton. And although Man City have been struggling, I did feel it was a big weekend. I did expect Arsenal to beat West Ham, and I thought Liverpool would be going into tomorrow's or yesterday's game with a lot of pressure on them. Of course, that flipped on its head, and it gave Liverpool a real jolly up. And you thought, well, if they go and beat Man City now, 11 points is going to be a big, big lead.
yeah.
And look, I said before the game, I did fancy Liverpool. They won it. I thought Man City would have a lot of possession, and Liverpool would be ruthless in the transition, and that's what they were. I
We were
mean,
very good. We were very good defensively yesterday as well. I know Trent got sort of cooked, but he had no end product end docky. So I think Van Dijk and Kanate ate up everything that was thrown at them.
yeah, we'll speak about how Liverpool got in those positions, but I think that's an interesting point you made. Liverpool yesterday, you've seen the clear differences between Slot and Klopp and their style and their approach. And, you know, Liverpool have went there before under Klopp, and it was only a couple of seasons ago they were beat 4-1 there after going in front 1-0.
Five
Whereas
one.
Slot, different approach, he managed the game.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on the tactics? Because, I was in the pub yesterday and everyone was saying how brilliant it was from Slot, the game management. But it's one of them ones you have when you play like that, you have to win, don't you? Because
Yeah.
if City had got a goal and then got a draw, and then people are saying, "Oh, why are you sitting back for?" But he played the percentages, and the fuck Kanate and Van Dijk were excellent.
Oh, they were. And as Gary Neville said, and you know my opinion on Gary Neville, I don't agree with a lot of things he said. He says, but he did say that Liverpool can play different ways this season under Slot. He's very adaptable, which you can accuse Klopp and our managers like Ange, like Amram, that they're not very adaptable. But it seems Slot sort of plays the opposition. He doesn't sort of play the occasion, if you get me. So I was going into yesterday's game. Not gonna lie, I wasn't. I didn't say I was super confident, but when I saw Man City's lineup, and I saw our lineup, I said straight away like we should dominate their midfield, and that's what happened. De Bruyne's just done, but there was an interesting point made yesterday as well. It just shows that having less, having more possession doesn't necessarily mean you dominate the game because yes, they have more possession, they have more shots, but he doesn't really have a shot where apart from the Marmoush one where he scored but he was offside, they didn't really have a shot in the game where I thought, oh, they should have scored that. Or Allison wasn't
So
really.
you thought Liverpool controlled the game?
Uh, I really
Mm.
did.
It
I
did
can't
feel like
remember.
the longer we done today, we're just not going to be able to score. It didn't look like scoring.
As soon as we went 3-0 up, I said it's game done. Like I knew because yes, we've been leaking goals last few weeks, but yesterday we were sort of back to the Liverpool of at the start of the season where we were just blocking everything. And as I said, I know Trent had a bit of a tough game with Doku and Robertson with Savino, but they
I thought Trent really struggled. To be honest, I
no,
think Docky a few times was going past him like he wasn't even there, and then I think
I
Kanate.
knew you
I know Van Dijk gets a lot of credit, but and Kanate's come in for a bit of criticism after the Wolves game and after the Villa game. I think somebody says he's either brilliant or he can be very, very poor. And I thought yesterday he really, really bailed Trent out on a number of times.
No, he does. And you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to Endo as well. I think when Endo came on as well, that's what I like about Endo. Like he's one of them players. He knows he's not going to play. He's not going to play every week. He's going to come on the last 10, 15 minutes in games. But when he came on yesterday, he just gets stuck in, and that's what you need in the squad as well. It's not about the 11 on the pitch. At times, it's about the squad. And I know Slot doesn't really, obviously, he doesn't really rate Chiesa, the likes of Harvey Elliott. I've seen today that there's talks of Harvey Elliott leaving in the summer, which would be interesting. But one player, we'll talk about Salah. But what I was there to say about Salah? But one player that I thought was really good yesterday was Dominic Szoboszlai. I was he just you seen him after the game. He just collapsed. He was out on his feet.
I think he suits them away games when they're playing a big team. Yeah, he tortured Spurs, didn't he? And he tortured City. I
Yeah,
think them big games really suits him because he gets a lot more space in the counter attack. He's a transitional player. I don't
yeah,
necessarily think he suits teams when Liverpool have a lot of the ball at home and they have to
yeah,
break him down. I think he's more of a runner, and I think he'd be perfect for someone like Spurs, to be honest, as well. The way
yeah.
they kind of play,
I
but
I love him as a player though. His his work ethic is just next thing on. Like.
now I don't want to criticize Liverpool or throwing it out there, but I just want to bring balance in this, and when I ask his question, do you? I'll put this towards Arsenal as well when we talk about Arsenal. But I mean, how do you think we've ended up in this position where Liverpool are 8 points clear? Sorry, 11 points clear. I know we've played a game extra, but still 11 points clear. They were seen as third favourites before the season. Some people even says they might not even make the top four. New manager didn't really sign. He only signed Chiesa, who's not really had any feature this season at all. He's had a few appearances, but nothing of substance. So it's basically been the same team. We out Klopp, and Liverpool find themselves in this position. But as good as they've been on, do you think it's one of those seasons where there wasn't really that much competition? City, who could have predicted City to be as bad as they've been? Arsenal have had a real injury crisis in their forward line. They've had a lot of things go against them, like I spoke about in terms of red cards, which were I think some of them were, but I think a lot of them they've been punished for others have got away with it. Chelsea have reverted to type after that great start. United have got worse. Spurs haven't kicked on. Villa have struggled with Europe. Newcastle are kind of where you'd expect them to be. And I think Forest being in third kind of shows you where the league was this year. So do you think as good as Liverpool have been, they've benefited from our clubs being pretty poor?
Aye, but that's what you have to do as well. You have to be in a position to capitalise on our teams not being at their best, and that's what we've done. Um, like you've been saying for years, the people have been saying when Man City are off it, it'll be Arsenal they go on and win. But when Arsenal are off it and the other teams off it, we have to be there, and we are there, and it's looking like we're going to get our just rewards. Yes, the other teams have had injuries, but that's that's not Liverpool's problem. We just have to go about our business, and we've lost one game all season, like so we're not there. We're not there by fluke. We're there because we deserve it.
Yeah. Of course, that one league loss coming to Forest. I think that was the fourth game on. Liverpool had that great start. They
Yeah,
beat Ipswich, they beat Brentford, and they beat Man United. Then they had that stumble against Ipswich or against Forest at home.
yeah,
After that, they've been really really strong, winning or drawing. They've had a fair few draws, but a lot of wins as well. Um, you know, Slot says he thinks every time they've not been at their best, they've either not won or is that lost a Forest.
Yeah.
Do you think that's been the case that the points total that they have is quite a fair reflection of their season? Can you think of too many games they won where they didn't deserve to win, or anything in your head?
Um, maybe the Wolves away from home. We were a bit fortunate to win that one. I think they played well that day. Chelsea at home, they
I
could
think
have got a point.
The Wolves probably both games. You're probably
Both
fortunate to win something.
Chelsea at home too. They caused us a bit of problems. But all other than that, I can't really think of any other ones really because United away we battered them. We were lucky. We were lucky to get a point out of United at home. I will say that. I think on a different day it could have went differently, but in 90% of the games, I think Arsenal away was a fair point.
Yeah, I don't think you can argue that Liverpool haven't been the best team over the 27 games they've played.
No, and I think the one that really annoys me, apart from the Everton game and the Villa game, was alright but the Newcastle one really annoyed me because Kelleher in the last minute.
You mentioned Salah earlier on there. Another goal and another assist yesterday. 30 goals and 21 assists in all competitions.
It's just
He's only 4 assists away from Henry's 2020 season, where he got 20 goals and 20 assists. Salah's already went through the 20 goal mark. He's
you
on
would back
16
him,
assists in the league, so he can get 4 more, 5 more to set a new record. I mean, there's a good chance he'll get there, won't he?
and see if we had clinical finishers apart from him, he'd be there weeks ago. It's our
Yeah.
our it's our forward line letting them down. That's the only thing that's concerning me. If Salah was to pick up an injury, hopefully he doesn't. But if he was to pick up a injury to keep him out for 2-3 weeks, that would be a problem.
There was a lot of chat in the studio yesterday about Ballon d'Or potentially. Do you think he has to win the Champions League this season as well? With
Um,
Liverpool, they won it. Would the league be enough, even with these remarkable numbers?
no, for me, for maybe I'm obviously being biased because I'm a Liverpool fan, but for me, there's not been a better player in the world than him this season.
See,
I
do
know
you think
we're,
that they fucked that though? The fact that if Real Madrid script their way to the final and Mbappe scores 2 goals in the final, he'll probably win it over
I
Salah, who has been ultra consistent.
it's because I'm telling you now, if Salah doesn't want it, it's because he's African. I'm telling you.
Why do you think
Because
that would have anything to do with it?
it always is. It's always Brazilians or South Americans or like anyone. When was the last time like a person from Europe won the apart from Rodri last year? When was the last time? I know Modric a few years ago, but
Well, Ronaldo must have wanted Modric.
apart from
I think the biggest, there's no international tournament this summer, so
yeah,
for me, it has to come from within domestic football.
and to be
Or I think the biggest issue is if Harry Kane banged on all them goals in Germany, I don't think he would win the Ballon d'Or if Bayern Munich don't win the Champions League. So
no,
I think
I
that's got to
think
be
too.
Salah's issue, is that it's although we say it's the best league in the world, in Europe, the Champions League is probably viewed as a more prestige trophy because it's a battle of all the leagues, isn't it? So,
Yeah,
if Salah keeps on this current run, breaks every record in England for an individual season, because Harry Kane was breaking records in Germany last year. Obviously, he
mm,
didn't win the league anyway, but if he had won the league, I still don't think he would have won it over Rodri because
it would-
Man
if,
City
uh,
had done, and obviously Spain had won the Euros, so it's a difficult one. I mean, for me, I don't think it's done properly. The fact that
it's a
Mbappe's not been
popularity.
at a brilliant
It's a
best this season
popularity
for Real
contest.
Madrid, but he's got a hat trick the other night, and if he keeps scoring goals in the Champions League, there's a good chance he'll probably win it. If Madrid, I think Liverpool will probably have to win the Champions League for Salah to win it.
I will say this: Madrid, the way Madrid are behaving is absolutely disgusting. Like every report, it's get the fans, they do this, the referees are like get over it. They're Demons and Barca are probably the two biggest clubs who have been done corruption and like if you mind years ago, mind that Barca Chelsea game where that was one of the worst refereeing things I like.
Um,
Um,
there's obviously so much up in the air with Liverpool. In terms of the future, of course, the fans right now are probably just looking to get this league over and won and
mhm.
celebrating. But Do you feel now that the time has probably passed in terms of contract news? Do you think it's unlikely to come now before the end of the season? Do you think, whatever
If they,
happens, it'll probably be announced towards May, end of May, or possibly even June?
uh,
I mean, because it's now March. It's March at the weekend. Saturday is the first day of March.
yep.
Maybe the international break, but as where do you see the announcement or the talks happening? Because at the moment we haven't really heard anything significant in the last few weeks.
No, I seen a report yesterday. I don't know how reliable it is, but I seen a report yesterday from someone in the Telegraph saying that Van Dijk and Salah are going to agree to 2 year deals and Trent's away to Madrid, and that's the way I see it. I honestly, I think see if Van Dijk and Salah stay. Obviously, I don't want Trent to leave, but if Van Dijk and Salah stay, I'll not be too devastated because those are the main ones that I
When do you
Trent.
think this we'll hear about this? Or
Uh, when Van Dijk's left the Premier League, you'll have the Premier League in one hand, the contract now. No, it'll probably. I would say it'll go into the summer.
what do you think the main issue is? Because I think Liverpool have probably conceded now that Trent's going to go.
Yeah,
So if you're not really focused on him, and you've got the RT there that clearly want to stay, what do you think the hold up is? Because they've been
maybe
negotiating now for months and months and months.
maybe they are just waiting to the maybe they are just waiting to the end of the season. I don't see why they would, but maybe that's what they're doing. And then we have another problem because Kanate next year's into the final year of his contract. Don't know how we let that happen. But I honestly I don't know what's going on upstairs at Liverpool at times. But it's a big summer regardless of what happens because there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of change in the playing staff from what I'm hearing anyway.
I mean, do you think that if Van Dijk and Salah go or stay, Trent goes on a free transfer, of course. But do you think if they stay, it's going to take a lot out of the transfers because there's going to be big signing on fees, massive wage commitments. Will that have an
No,
effect, do you think, on the players that Liverpool looking to bring on? Because if you've got two players there on $500,000 a week, that's going to take up a lot of the wages, isn't it?
but then you're losing Trent's wages, and then I would say if you think about it too, Nunez is going to leave, Diaz is possibly going to leave.
Yeah,
So
what I mean is they're going to have to sign a right back. That's going to be their main focus, isn't it? Well, I
no,
know we
not
all
really.
need a striker,
With,
but
with
I mean,
Bradley there, Bradley can do the job. I
do
know
you
we need
think?
someone.
I know Bradley's a good player, but do you think that Slot will believe he is the number one choice at right back moving forward, or will he want somebody else in there with a bit more experience? And
Yeah. Well,
because whenever
Bradley.
we look at it, Trent, I know he struggled defensively yesterday. I don't think Connor Bradley can do what Trent can do. I know there's not many players that can,
Nobody,
but
nobody can. To be fair.
I just
Um.
wonder will he want somebody else in there that can at least compete with Bradley?
Oh, we'll go for a right back, but I can see Bradley being number his number
And I
one
think they're
choice.
short at centre back. Gomez keeps getting injured. I'm not sure
No,
Slot believes Kwanzaa's going to be a Liverpool player for the future. So,
no,
I mean, they're going to have to go out and sign a
we're
centre half.
definitely we're definitely getting a centre back. That's basically been confirmed.
And I think they need a
But
left back as well. They need a left. So, everyone talking about we need a striker. I mean, I think a striker could be fourth or fifth choice down the list of players that they need. I think Slot will definitely want a centre back. He'll want a right back. He'll want a left back. And then you
we
have to
don't
look at
need
how much are they going to spend on Momondo.
we don't need Slot. Well, he said last week in a press conference. I don't know if you've seen this, but he said last week he knows now he's looking at his squad what he wants and what we need. So that's filling me with confidence. Now, for me, I think at left back there's only one option that I want anyway at left back, and it's Kirkes from Bournemouth. He's just I want him at left back.
There's a
He's
50 million price tag on us. So I mean, it's not going to be cheap, is it?
no,
It could cost them 100 million. They bring in two fullbacks, possibly an R50 for centre half. There's 150 million already.
and
And
then
if they sell Diaz,
striker.
they might bring in a left winger, and then have to shift Nunez.
We'll
They
get
bring
like
in.
we'll get like 70 mil for Nunes from Saudi Arabia. They're mad.
Do
They'll
you
pay
think he
that.
wants to go there? That's going to be the issue.
Of course, he'll go there. Look at the
I,
money
I,
he's going to get.
I don't think that. I think Spurs had this issue with Richarlison. They wanted to sell him to Saudi, and he says no. He says I'm not going.
Nah, different types of players.
But the issue, how?
In terms of, I think Nunez would go there. He's just that type of character. I don't know.
I think if Nunez goes there, he'd be virtually giving up on his career. But all right,
But then
he'd make a fortune. But
if you look at it, he'll leave Liverpool this season. Say in the summer with 2 Carabao Cups hopefully a Premier League and maybe a Champions League. Like
But
what?
I think what I see from Nunez is somebody that's determined. They do well at Liverpool. I know he sulked a wee bit after the ball game, but generally he works very hard and he's a very emotional player. I mean, I don't know if he signs that contract in Saudi. I think he's basically wrote off his career.
Where do you think would suit him? Like Atleti or something?
I think Liverpool would, and a bit like with Spurs, I think they would like to sell these players to Saudi because they'll get more money. But
Yeah,
I mean, if the player doesn't agree to it, there's nothing you can do. I mean, if
I
he stays, well,
definitely.
do you know what? I would rather go back to Benfica, and Benfica saying, well, we're only going to give you 30 or 40 million, whereas the Saudi team is offering double. It's very difficult for he's under contract, he holds all the cards there, and the only thing that the Saudis can offer him is money. I mean, unless you're that greedy character, you know, Nunes is what 24, 25. I think he still has a lot to prove to people.
Well, I know no matter what, I know he won't be at Liverpool next season. I know that for 100%. Slot
Because
doesn't fancy.
you look at Arden Ronaldo, any player that moves to Saudi Arabia, you don't hear anything about them. Ronaldo's a global superstar, but I mean, I couldn't tell you how many goals Tony scored in the league because no one talks about him. So it's a bit
No,
like Nunes will be basically, forgotten about. I'm not sure he's that type of character that
look
would
at
want that.
look at Duran though. He's 21. He's went out there.
Yeah, but apparently Duran's quite a controversial character. I just don't think. I think Nunez is a wee bit. He struggles with confidence at times, but I just don't see him as that type. I could be wrong, but from what I looking at him, I just don't see that happening.
I definitely think it'll be. I definitely think it'll be a big summer for Liverpool this year in terms of an outgoings. But I don't. I don't think. I think Slot out of our strikers, I think he only fancies Gakpo. To be honest, I don't think he fancies Jota that much either.
Yeah, I think the Diaz will likely move on, and I think they'll get a suitor for him at a decent price. But it's who did you
And
put him with? You said to me about you would love to get Gordon and Isak on. That's going to cost probably 250 million. Get them to.
well, I don't think we'll get Isaac. Of course, I would love Isaac, but I think Gordon. I've said this for about a year to 18 months now since that came out. I think Gordon's nailed on to be a Liverpool player at some point.
Would you sanction? Well, they want 80, 90 million. He signed a new contract. You're probably not. He's had a good season too. You're probably not far off. They would maybe asking for 100 million from.
Well, for selling Diaz, like that's what you have to pay. That's what you have to pay these days for to have decent
Yeah,
players.
but do you think Gordon is a £100 million player in this market?
To me, he's not, but it's like it's not me paying it, so I'm really bothered about that side of things because Liverpool
I,
aren't
I just
Liverpool.
think it's very easy for fans to sit there and go, right, it's going to be a big summer. We need this, 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 and then before you add it all, that's 500 million. I mean, it's just clubs aren't going to spend that in 1 month.
No, we're not. But I think realistically, if you're asking me now, I do in the summer. I think this will be Liverpool's summer. We'll get a centre back, a left back. We'll get a centre back, a left back, a right back, and a striker. 5 players, I think.
Hmm. Let's concentrate on this season. Of course, Liverpool have 11 games left. Newcastle at home. Then they have there's a break next week with the FA Cup. A lot of big teams out, so a lot of teams have a rest week. Then it's Everton at home, and then I believe they have a break as well because they're in the League Cup final. Then there's an international break, so they actually only play 2 games now
Yeah.
between now and April. Then they have Everton at home, Fulham away, West Ham at home, Leicester away, Spurs at home, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Brighton away, and Palace at home.
Arsenal be giving us a guard of honour, telling you.
Yeah, well, I've seen a stat that if Liverpool won their next 8 and Arsenal won their next 9, Liverpool could then win the league with a draw at home to Arsenal. Arsenal will have to win. They take it back to 5 points with 2 games to go. So I think that's very unlikely if both teams won all those games. But
Yeah.
I think Liverpool would like to have it done by the time they play Spurs. I think they would like to have it won in those first, because Newcastle you'd expect to be tough, but at home you'd fancy Liverpool. Southampton at home, I think they'll breeze past them. Everton at home, they always usually win. Fulham away is potentially tricky. I think West Ham at home is a nice game, and Leicester away I think is a great game. So, if Arsenal keep dropping points, I think Liverpool would ideally like to have it done before they play Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Brighton, because I think that's a tough 4 games in a row.
Well, if you think about it, Arsenal are playing Forest this week. I know Forest are, but we'll talk about it when we get on there. But I know Forest are dipping, but Forest away is not easy. So,
Yeah, I think their next 3 games is Forest, Chelsea, or United and Chelsea.
and you know what? As bad as United and Chelsea are, you wouldn't like the way Arsenal are. If Arsenal had a fully fit squad, they'd be wrapped up like them. Not the league I'm on about them. them games. But with these next three games for Arsenal too, it's not a given that they'll get 9 points.
Yeah. If Arsenal were to come through those three games with 3-1s, and Liverpool say beat or they draw with Newcastle, beat Southampton, beat Everton, draw away at Fulham, beat West Ham, and beat Leicester, and the gap then is down to 4 or 5 points, would you be worried getting under that run of games that they still have to play Arsenal, who could obviously take 3 points off them, that it wouldn't be over? Like, have as much as it looks like it is over, there's still not completely set in stone yet. I think we're going to know in these next few games how depending on how Arsenal do.
I just can't see Arsenal getting through these three games, winning them all. I'm not saying we're going to win them all, but I can't see, like, every time we've slipped up this season, Arsenal have slipped up as well.
Yeah, I think that's the frustration from Arsenal. But no, I think Liverpool will get at least 7 or 8 ones there, and I think that'll be enough.
By the time, I agree with you, by the time we play Spurs at home, I think it'll be done. Or we might need to beat Spurs at home. We might need to beat Spurs at home.
Well, they would need to be 16 points clear going into that Spurs game to be champions. So if they wanted it Leicester, they have to win that. They go 16 clear because there'd be 5 games left.
Yeah, if we need to beat Spurs at home to win the league, I think Spurs might just be all here. See, right, take it.
It doesn't be on the realms of being over, but still think they'd be doing well. They have it over by the time they play Spurs. I think they could have it won then after they play Spurs, depending on who knows.
It depends, but the way I'm looking at it, if you're asking me for predictions, I think we'll beat Newcastle. It'll be tight, but I think we'll beat them. Southampton, that's just a given. You would like to think. Everton at home, we usually win them. Fulham away, I think we'll draw because we always seem to draw there. West Ham at home, we'll win. Leicester away, we'll win. Spurs at home, we'll win because we always beat Spurs at home. Chelsea away, we'll draw. Arsenal at home, I'll say we'll win. Brighton away, we'll win. And Palace at home, the last day won't matter. So we'll win.
So you think you could potentially only lose one game from being all season?
I generally do the way we're playing it. I can't see any of those teams beating us.
That'll be frustrating, won't it, if you've only lost one game by the end because of the uncomfortable season?
I don't really care about that. Like, the only
game be interesting, depending on where they want. They could lose potentially a couple towards the end of the season because they might be focused on the Champions League and they might rest players. But
that's what we did the last time. We wanted like we have a few games to go, and then City beat us 4-1, then Arsenal beat us. So.
Let's look at Arsenal. Of course, shock result at home to West Ham. Arteta started Mourinho after his 2 goals against Leicester. Possibly had to throw him in there. It didn't work. And West Ham done a job on them, and Arsenal really struggled to create. I think Odegaard's been very, very poor since he's come back from injury.
I was looking at his stats. I think he only has like 2 goals and 3 assists this season or something like that.
I think he's something like 35th in chances created. He's 35th in the league, so I mean he's not been creating a lot. And of course they've no Saka, no Martinelli, no Havertz, no Jesus. I mean, where Spurs have had issues at the back, they've got all theirs in the front at the one time.
That's what they were saying on Sky yesterday. Like Arsenal probably, you would argue, Arsenal have hopefully. Arsenal have a better defense than Liverpool, arguably, but Liverpool just have the firepower and it's attack. It's goals win games, and that's what they don't have at the minute. Because that signing of Raheem Sterling on loans they may as well not have brought him in because has he even scored for them?
I think he scored 1 goal in the League Cup and a 4-1 win against Bolton or something like that. So no, he's not really had an impact at all. He's not had much of an opportunity, but when he has had an opportunity, he's flattered to deceive. I mean, how much blame? You can blame luck, you can blame bad luck, you can blame yellow cards, red, whatever. But do you think Arteta has to take responsibility for Arsenal not bringing in a striker in the summer, and even in this market? Rashford was available on loan. There was opportunities out there, and they didn't go and get a striker. I'm not convinced, but he was available. Asensio was available. He scores 2 at the weekend. All those players I think would have helped Arsenal. You decide not to do it. He signed an all left back in the summer, and he signed an all Marino type, an all Havertz type player that can kind of play anywhere, but probably not anywhere near the world class level in any of those positions. So Arteta seems to like a lot of these players that can play different positions. Calafiore, centre back, left back, Ben White, centre
He
back,
brought,
right back,
he brought
Declan Rice
Sinclair,
can
he brought
play.
Sinclair on at the weekend and played him in midfield, which didn't work either.
What?
He brought Sinchenko on in the
Yeah,
midfield, or and
exactly.
played
Zinchenko, left back, midfielder. You know, um,
Cumber, centre back, right
Cumber,
back.
right back, centre back, left back. And then there's the other fella, Marino can play, and Declan Rice can play at different positions. But
Thomas
none of
Partey
these
sometimes
players
plays
are
right back.
probably the best in their position. So he seems to have a certain profile of player that he likes. He likes flexible players, but not bringing in a striker has cost. Havertz is an Arwen can play midfield striker, but it seems to have cost them big time that they haven't got that out and out striker.
I think the problem with Arteta is he tries to be too perfect. Like when I watch Arsenal, they're not an exciting team to watch. Like as much as Spurs and Liverpool haven't been that exciting at times this season, but we're getting the job done. But as much as we banter about Spurs, like you always know when a Spurs game happens, you're going to see goals at one end or the other. But I think with Arsenal, it's just a lot of the times it's just right. Let's hope we get a corner. We'll get a corner. We'll score from a set piece. We'll recycle the ball back and forth.
I was actually thinking about this, right? If you look at Arsenal's attacking options when everyone's fit, and you look at Spurs', I think Spurs generally have better options. Other than Saka,
Yeah,
Spurs have got Kulusevski, they've got Johnson who can score goals. I don't think he's the most glamorous player, Johnson, but he's got a knack of scoring goals. Even if
yeah,
it happens,
yeah.
Martinelli doesn't seem to do that anymore. He had a great season that first year Arsenal went for league, but since then he's been pretty poor. Trossard seems to have gone off the boil. He was a bit like a Brennan Johnson type of player. He would score the odd goal, but maybe not be as good on the eye. Havertz, Slinky for me is a better option than Havertz. So,
I agree.
they've also got Richarlison there that can come off the bench. A second type of striker, number 9. Arsenal haven't got that. Yeah, and I look, if you compare them to Newcastle, I think Newcastle have better attacking options. Man City have better options. Liverpool have better options. So they're way down the. Villa for me have better options. So they're way down the pecking order. They might have the 6th or 7th best attacking when everyone's fit. So it's very difficult to win leagues. There's a massive reliance on Salah. And on Saka. And I know Salah's relied heavily upon in Liverpool. They
Yeah.
do have all our options there. They can score goals, and when Arsenal don't score or Saka's not at it, it's a big struggle.
And that's he seems to play defensive football. Even as Callum says there before the injuries, they drop points.
Well,
And
that's it. Even if these injuries hadn't happened, I'm not so sure they would have won it anyway.
no, neither am I. Obviously, we'll not know because hindsight's 2020, as they say. But like, was it? We dropped points in them as Callum. I can't remember who we dropped points there. We won that week, and they drew 0-0 with Everton. Mind, I can't remember who. I don't know if we played that weekend or they played before us.
You
But
used to be Fulham that day.
I had the 10 men. That's what it was. So they drew. That's what I was saying. Every time we slip up, Arsenal seem to slip up as well, which will be a frustration. But a lot of, and you have to remember too, they've spent a lot of money and they haven't addressed the area that they need. Similar to Chelsea, as I said to you the other day, how have Chelsea spent? We'll speak about Chelsea in a minute, but I'm just bringing it in here. How have Chelsea spent 1 billion, over a billion, and two very very poor goalkeepers? So how have Arsenal spent over 700 million and not had a top class striker?
Yeah, I mean, somebody made the point that since Arteta's there, they've sold every striker they've had and not really brought on an out number 9. Jesus and
Mm,
Havertz aren't really number 9s. So
yeah,
he's let go in Keria, Balogun, Lacazette, Aubameyang. 4 strikers were at the club. Now I know Aubameyang and him fell out, and he was getting older, but he never really replaced his goals.
mm,
Saka took on that mantelpiece, but he's a wide player. Martinelli had one great season where he scored all them goals, but since he's not been able to get that, Trossard's been a bit part player, but his goals have
Sterling,
dried up, and I think he's just past his best now. Trossard, he's getting older,
and
so
Sterling.
well, that's that. And Havertz is no more than a 15 goal a season striker, and that's even when he's playing as a striker. So I just don't see how Arsenal can win anything until they get a number 9.
No, well,
And
well,
I wondered that last season when they went on that great run and they were scoring goals all over the place. Did that come on the Arteta's thinking we don't need a striker? We need to strengthen our areas. We need more cover at the back in case we get because they signed a whole pile of goalkeepers, a whole pile of defenders, a whole pile of
yeah.
midfielders. But I mean, he's not really brought anyone on the rival Martinelli. I don't think anyone they've signed been able to take that less. And I don't think Martinelli's a world class player. He's not brought anyone on the rival Saka,
I know
and
they have that young kid now. 1 year he seems to
he's
be
coming
playing.
through the academy. So I mean,
Uh,
you
uh,
look
uh,
at the Saka replacement might be coming through the academy. He signed all these left backs, and I think their best left backs, Lewis Skelly, coming through the academy. He
yeah.
signed all these goalkeepers, and eventually got it right with Raya. But I think they let a potentially a better goalkeeper go in Martinez. So I mean, they went round in circles to get to where they are, and it's not delivered. And I think
No,
that's the Arteta can only blame our issues so much, but I think he's got that situation wrong.
I'm surprised they didn't blame the new ball for the fact that they lost to West Ham. But
I
no,
mean,
it's
I listened to some of the Arsenal videos there.
did I?
And there is more and more of these fans that were on their way him now that are starting to doubt if he's the man that can lead them to the winners' enclosure, because how many more seasons do you give it?
Yeah. Do you think that's about to do with Slot too? His first season coming on, possibly winning the league. I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Or
Because we have, even if Salah doesn't score, which doesn't happen often, we have Gakpo chips in, Diaz chips in, and again Nunez, but we still have players that chip.
what were you saying there? What was the question you asked me before?
I was going to say, do you think a lot of fans are turning on him too because of Slot coming on his first season?
Well, I
Man,
think that's it. If Man City had went out and won it again, well, people would have said, "Well, that's Man City," but that's different this time. And
yeah,
look, I'll ask the same question that I asked you earlier. This was Arsenal's golden opportunity. Man City have been poor. The fact that Forest is in third place tells you that the teams, that are supposed to be fighting for top four haven't been great. Spurs have had the worst ever injury crisis. They haven't kicked on like many people thought they would. Villa have had the same issue Newcastle have had. We trying to balance Champions League and Premier League. Newcastle haven't been able to strengthen their squad. They haven't had as many injuries, but they're a top four team, top five team at best. So Chelsea haven't kicked on. United have got worse. So this was a massive opportunity. They only really had to beat Liverpool to the league this year, and they haven't been able to do it. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
it's a strange one because I remember talking to Stefan on here, who mysteriously hasn't been on in a
Stefan's
while.
actually coming on Thursday night.
Oh, I'll be watching. I wonder, is he going to say Liverpool or
He
Liverpool?
says that they've had. He says that all Arsenal's bad luck has turned into good luck for Liverpool.
Right. Okay. Don't know how that makes sense, but okay. Sometimes you make your own luck, don't you? But
He says
no,
to me that you would not believe the amount of times that Liverpool have played players where their best players must in every game. He says like Haaland's football season injured. What he says Villa were crucified with injuries. Everton and Jai goes off after 10 minutes. He says
how's
for
that?
every bit of bad luck we've had, Liverpool seem to have got good luck everywhere else.
That's not our
And
problem.
obviously they've had no injuries.
No, we've had a few. We've had Canate missing for a
But
while.
I mean
Also,
that's not Liverpool's fault that all these players, it's just one of them things. It just happens
yeah,
sometimes.
sure, sure. Mind the season where we were crucified by Van Dijk and Gomez, and so what
Because they
happens?
played Spurs 3 times and they were crucified with injuries every time.
But then we've played Spurs when they haven't been crucified. We've still, I don't get it. But
Not
no,
this season.
back to
But
what it was. Back to what it was. No, I think it was Arsenal. I said earlier, Arsenal it was their season. They won it, but I think just not getting that as Callum is not an out number nine, but someone who can take the burden off Saka. Because Martinelli doesn't do it, as we spoke about. Trossard has sort of dried up. Sterling has been a waste of space all along. So I think questions will be asked of Arteta, and I can't see them going far in the Champions League because if I remember right, they've PSV and then one of the Madrid clubs.
yeah, you think they'll fall short against either Madrid?
I think Atletico will try and do them at their own game, just defend, 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 and then
I mean, how damaging mentally do you think it'll be if Liverpool's holding up that league title? Arsenal are second, City's nowhere to be seen, miles behind. How do they motivate themselves? How do they believe that next season, it's going to be our year? Because there's going to be the argument that, well, Liverpool's team's going to be an our year on. Salah, as good as he is, can he produce what he's done this season back to back? I mean, that would be something incredible if he was to go and bang on 30 goals and 20 assists by end of February again. But you would think that that's pretty unlikely.
yeah,
Despite how great he is, for him to do that again. For Liverpool to get through this season, we the same amount of injuries or less than they have this year would be, clutching. So there's a potential, that Arsenal could be the best placed team to go again next year. But mentally, how challenging is it when you feel that you're always running under somebody better than you?
Oh, trust me, I know more than most. The amount of times we lost it in the final day twice to City.
Yeah, but
It's
Liverpool were winning our trophies, but this is slightly
true.
different. They haven't won anything really with this team.
And I think it all depends on what they do in the summer. Because they're expected to sign Zubamendi, I think, aren't they?
Well, Stefan says to me, Isak's just impossible to get. He says he thinks that everyone will struggle because of the price tag it's on his head. He says it's from what he hears, it's going to be Sesko and Zubamendi coming on. He says that'll obviously improve us, but Sesko's an unknown in the Premier League. But do you think, just on Isak, do you think it's going to be impossible for anyone to sign him, even if Newcastle don't get top four? He's still got a couple of years in his contract. If Newcastle are saying it's 150 million or don't come back this, do you think Isak will be stuck there for at least one more season? And then, of course, with only 1 year left, the price drops.
Depends if Newcastle get into the Champions League, like he won't they stay because he'll be guaranteed Champions League football. But he seems to be the hot property in that position, and then Sesko as well. You said to me you can see Liverpool trying to go for him as well, so it'll be interesting to see because there'll be a few teams looking for strikers. Like I think if you look third the league, I think United need a striker because their two strikers are, dear God, they're bad. Liverpool need a striker. Spurs are all right. Follow probably need a striker to subsidise Watkins. So there's gonna be a lot of movement in that area.
Yeah, Callum's actually saying Isak's got 3 years left in the summer. So I thought it was 2 in the summer. So it really is deal at Newcastle's numbers, and I think that's going to be very difficult for teams to get anywhere. Unless Newcastle say 150 and somebody goes to 130 and they go, do you know what, this is just too big to turn down. But
Yeah.
It's just very. I mean, if you spend that much on one player, you're not going to really. I can't see them getting Zubamendi for 60 million and then spending 140 on that's 200 million on two. I just don't see that happening. I think Arsenal too. They're not on the breadline FF, PSR, but I think they've got about 160 million, give or take. So I mean that will be over their budget. So I mean it's very difficult to see how one player, anyone can afford that. On United certainly can't. City don't need him. They've got Haaland and Marmoush there. Spurs aren't going to go near him, and he wouldn't go there anyway. So I think it's going to be very difficult for anyone to get him.
And that's why I'm excited about Liverpool's window because I do think we'll spend, and we haven't spent anything, so we're all right with PSR and FFP. But I think if Arsenal do miss out on the league, which obviously I hope they do, it will affect them mentally. But it's whether they go right. Do we trust this manager to get us over the line, or do we need them
how much time do you think it would get if they go out of the Champions League? They won on the Madrids, and they finished second by Liverpool. Now, Arteta could go, do you know what? Well, we had a whole crisis injuries there, and if they get knocked out by Real Madrid, you could argue that Madrid are a better team anyway. So, as long as you don't go out to PSV, which I don't think they will, I think they'll get away with that. But there's a good chance he could have his players back for the Madrid tie, whichever one it is. But if it is Real Madrid, well, you could say, well, Madrid have more experience, more quality, and that's a losable tie for any team. And as you say, a point to injuries why they finish second. I don't think he'll be sacked, but do you think it would be last chance? You have to deliver something next season.
I think it's for me if they don't win anything this year, which it's looking likely they won't. It's next season or bust because next season will be a 7th year. What?
I think he's 7th season, but he's 6th full season.
And they spend that amount of money and only have one FA Cup. They show for it. It's not good enough for a club like Arsenal.
Let's look back at the rest of the weekend's results. Let's start with a 12:30 on the Saturday. We're not going to look at all these results. We're going to look at some of them anyway. What a game this was. I mean, the last 20 minutes was just end to end. Brilliant watch. Everton thought they had a penalty in the last minute. It looked a penalty in live play, I have to say. And then when they showed a couple of replays, I was thinking, do you know what? It's Young is down a bit too easily. But I can't see this being overturned because there is contact there. But strange, I mean, the amount of shock the VAR got involved, and even when they sent them over the monitor, I was thinking that he's going to stick with his decision because
Yeah.
normally when they go over, they reverse the decision. But I just thought this time he would stick with his original, and he changed it. I mean,
Mm.
why do you think the VAR got involved? Because we're told it's not they're not to re-referee the game, and anything that's overturned or reversed has to be clear and obvious. And there was nothing clear and obvious about this. And even Dermot Gallagher says on Sky Sports News today, he was shocked that the VAR got involved.
So was I. I was. I thought I didn't see it. I didn't see it in live play because I was out on Saturday. But when I seen the replay back, I was struggling to see why they got involved because, as you say, they always say, "Oh, we don't want to re-referee the game." It was sort of the same in the Arsenal game with a red card for Lewis Skelly. So, but that one was more cut and dry for me. I thought that should have been a red at the time. But for me, I think the penalty should have stood, and I was very confused why it didn't. Don't know what you think, but for me, it was a penalty.
Mm. Be interesting. I mean, I'm sure the next episode of Mike Up, this will be one of the episodes they show, and I'm expecting her Webb to apologise. But I mean, look, I know you have a very strong opinion on these referees, and sometimes I defend them quite a bit. But like, how many more apologies can they be given? I mean,
You know,
it's not acceptable. I mean, this is a big call. It's probably not a big call in terms of these two teams aren't going to be fighting for anything. Everton and United are safe from relegation, and they're too far away, in my opinion. They make any.
yeah.
Everton are happy where they are now anyway. But it's a big call in a game. It
Like
affects
if
the
this had
outcome of the
been,
game. Everton still have to score the penalty,
uh,
but I think statistically there's 75% chance. I
yeah.
think that's the way it works. Every
If
three
this
out of every four penalties are scored. So
if this had
this
been
is
Everton, if this had been Everton like 2 points above the relegation zone, needed a one, they like there'd be uproar. So they're
yeah,
lucky
because there
in
was
this.
the incident last year, wasn't there, with the Everton Forest game where Forest
Yeah.
completely lost it.
Uh,
And they thought they should have three penalties, and I think Harry Webb says they definitely should have had one. But this is going to be another one where he says we're going to have to dust ourselves down. We're going to have to look at these things and learn. But how much looking and learning can you do? Why did the VAR get involved here? There was nothing clear and obvious about this.
no, it's you can't really explain it because
Technically, the referee went against the rules. He now will likely be banned because everyone makes mistakes. But I mean, he has
who
done what
was
the VAR is nearly do and re-referee the game.
who was the ref?
The VAR was Tony Donahue. I've never really heard of him, but I mean,
Um,
I mean, and again, I think it shows weak refereeing that he didn't stick with his on-field decision. And one thing I would say is they definitely didn't show him all the angles that he should have been shown,
no,
but he
from what
still
I've
should have stuck
seen.
with his gut because he looked at it for a long time.
Uh,
So he wasn't really convinced that he got it wrong, but eventually he just wilted and went with it. But I mean, a really, really poor decision.
no, it's really poor, I think. But you'll get, as you say, you'll get the same company line. Oh, we apologise to Everton. We'll be better. We'll make sure this doesn't happen again. And then next weekend or whenever the next game's this week, there'll be some sort of controversy that happens. So it's just a recycled process, isn't it?
Yeah, moving on to the 3 o'clock games. Spurs got a big one away at Ipswich. Now a lot of people were predicting 2-2. I mean, every pundit I looked at was predicting two each here. So even though Ipswich have been struggling, Spurs were still not really fancy to go here and win. But I mean, a ruthless performance. I mean, Ipswich. I thought 4-1 probably flattered Spurs, to be honest. Ipswich had some good opportunities, but Spurs were ruthless in front of goal. I mean, Jed Spence just keeps improving. I mean, a goal at the weekend.
It shows
Son
you
was
like
practically somewhere near what his current best is. Johnson come back and we says Johnson's been a big mess because of his goals. He gets two goals, and Kulusevski scored one of his trademark goals. So it was a really good day for Spurs in the end up.
I didn't see any of this game, to be honest. I seen the score, but from what I heard, Spurs deserved their one, and so I think it's important for Spurs now to get these players back. And look, can they make a lit push for Europe? I can't see it, but I think the Europa League's definitely there for them. They won
Mm.
if
I
they
have
can.
to say I've been impressed with Danzo since he's come on. I mean, he's been
They,
they look a lot more secure with him. And they're
well, he has played in the Premier League before. Like it's not new. It's not new to him. So he's played there before, which probably helps as well.
interesting that I know they play on Wednesday, so technically that's maybe why Porro rested. But when they get to this one game a week stage, or it'd be interesting to see what he does with Spence and Porro, or does he play Spence at left back? Because Udogie played at left. Udogie was his first game back, and he played at left back. But it's very difficult to drop Spence. I mean, right or left side, because he's been excellent.
He's been good since he's come on, which begs the question: why wasn't he getting more opportunities under Ange at the start, or under was it Conte signed him or Mourinho signed him?
Conte.
Yeah,
Conte says he didn't sign him, even though he was a manager. He says the club signed him.
So it begs the question why he wasn't getting more. Because I always, when he was at Forest, it was Forest. He was that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember him. I remember him playing a game against us in the FA Cup the year they got promoted, and he was excellent there too. So he's always a player that I've liked.
Moving on to the half-5 game, and Chelsea found themselves 1-0 up. But I just had a feeling Villa would come back, and they did. They came 1-2-1, and their 2 January signings alone made a big difference. Rashford and Asensio set Asensio up for both goals. I mean, questionable goalkeeping for both of them, I think. But the second one in particular, but Villa beat Chelsea 2-1, and it was a big result for Villa because they needed to win this game. They only stay in touch for them Champions League spots, and Chelsea just continue to wilt. That Chelsea just remind me so much of Spurs at the moment. Just that softness about them that they can't really close out games. I remember everybody, and I mentioned this before, but I remember everyone was getting excited about Chelsea that time they beat us 4-3. But I just seen, they were the team on the day that got the penalty decisions. I mean, there was nothing in that game. Both teams looked suspect in midfield and at the back, and it's clear that both teams, Spurs and Chelsea, their strengths are in the attacking area, whereas at the back they're a mess, Chelsea. And Maresca's come under a lot of pressure all of a sudden, and they play Southampton tomorrow night, and that's a big game for him.
I mean, let's be honest. If he doesn't beat Southampton, he should be sacked. He should just be sacked for that.
I think he should be sacked
if they don't beat Southampton, because they're on course to be the worst Premier League team ever. Can you see Southampton getting an R1 this season?
No, that's at the no. Chelsea's at home tomorrow night, so they really should be winning that game.
Well, their next 2 games are Leicester or Southampton and Leicester, so it should be 6 points. But I think in this game, the first half, I actually thought Chelsea played well. For the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, they obviously took a lead through Enzo Fernandez. But I think once Villa worked out the system they were playing, because it was a new system, they like Reece James playing right mid, and all that there. He wasn't playing his usual right back. But once Villa,
what he called Palmer played as a false 9, didn't
he? He looks like he's starting to get a bit frustrated. You seen a few times on Saturday where he wasn't getting the ball where he wanted it, and he was shooting from positions and he was refusing to pass. So I've said this: if Chelsea don't qualify for the Champions League, he could be one to watch as well. In terms of moving on, but for Villa, it just shows what January transfers can do. Like Rashford already, I know it's only a couple of games, but he looks like a completely revitalized player.
I know I've spoken to United fans and they're disgusted about Rashford, because he looks like a different player all of a sudden.
It just shows what it could be the environment at United as well. Because look at Anthony, I know it's a different league out in Spain, but
I think he's just down tools and he's turned it on now. I think the biggest mistake Villa can make, sign him permanently. I really do. I think they should just write out this loan spell, get the best out of Rashford, and send him back to United and say thanks very much.
Yeah, I think, but I can see them signing him permanently though, if he keeps it up. Asensio though, I really like him.
Final game we look at was the 4-3 thrower yesterday before the big game. I didn't really particularly think there was going to be goals galore in this, just the way Forest are, but Newcastle blew him away in the first half, and then it was like a game of 2 halves because Forest come out the second half like a different team, and like Newcastle were hanging on for 4-2 for a long time, and the goal probably just came too late at the end for them to make an impact. They try and get a draw, but game of 2 halves, and I think Eddie Howe's a very, very funny manager in terms of, they blew Newcastle away or Forest away in the first half, and then he went all defensive second half.
Yeah,
I think he's one of them coaches that he does try to adapt a lot, and these are the things that Ange gets criticised with. But I mean, if Newcastle end up drawing that 4-4 yesterday, people will be going, well, why did you change your tactics for?
No, but I think this game, as you say, I didn't expect it to have many goals. I think the penalty was probably one of the worst penalties I've ever seen in my life. But I don't know.
I think Newcastle's 4 goals were all very fortunate. I mean, the first one, the first one it wasn't even a free kick, and then Holmes hits the cross on. The second goal was a massive deflection that took it over the goalkeeper, and then he bundles it on Murphy with his knee. The
No,
third goal, the lucky penalty, as you say, the penalty. I mean, any other time that he does that 100 times, the keeper saves it every time. And then the fourth goal was a massive deflection. So I mean, everything kind of went against Forest, I thought, yesterday.
but they were a bit last week too, weren't they? Forrest.
Yeah, two defeats
So,
in the bounce away from home.
so it seems they'll be glad to get back at home on Wednesday night.
They
But
seem to
it's
have lost that defensive steel they have.
yeah, they conceded. They conceded. Was it five? They
Five,
Bournemouth,
Bournemouth. Mm.
five. They Bournemouth, and then I can't. Was it who they play last week? Fulham, was it?
Two last week, four this week. So they're
So
leaking goals.
they're leaking goals, which hasn't maybe the pressure's starting to get to them a wee bit. I do think they'll get European football of some sort, but
Let's look at the risk for Europe, and we'll start off with the Champions League. We know Liverpool, and I would imagine Arsenal. I can't see Arsenal falling that far out of it that they're going to be in danger. So I think they're there, and then I think Forest at the moment look a little bit leggy and a little bit like, oh my god, we're only 10 games or 11 games away here. If we can, and that starts to play in your mind. Man City are hot and cold. Chelsea are falling off a cliff. Newcastle and Villa, they're there. Bournemouth had a big blip at the weekend at home to Wolves and only with only 10 men, but that's a game you nearly won.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think there's going to be plenty of thrills and spills in this race for Europe?
Because you look at the table, like Fulham are on with an outside chance, Brentford are on with a very outside chance, Spurs very very outside chance. So there's a lot of twists and turns they come. But if you're
I
asking
think
me,
Spurs would have to beat Man City on Wednesday, and then
they have any chance.
I think if they beat Man City, they're not without a shout, but it's going to take them one in a lot of those games, and you just couldn't trust Spurs to do that. But it would be like Spurs, they claw their way back on it and then throw it away.
Yeah.
But
if you're asking me now for me top five prediction, I'll do it in order. I'll go Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Newcastle, Villa.
See, I think the danger for Spurs is too is if they do put a good run together and finish safe, and they end up getting that Conference League, I'm not sure it's even worthwhile.
I've said this: if Liverpool ever end up in the Conference League, I wouldn't even watch it. It's like,
but I do think you look at a lot of these teams how they play each other. Like Brighton's playing Bournemouth on Tuesday night, so one of them's dropping. Spurs is playing Man City, and I look Spurs of Bournemouth, Brighton, Man City.
Liverpool.
All they play at home. They've got Villa away, Chelsea away, so they play all these teams that they're above them, and so they've an opportunity to take points off them, but it's just where they can take enough. But a lot of these teams are still going to have to play each other. And where Spurs were where they are 3 weeks ago to where they are now. If you can get on that run of 3, 4, 5 ones in a row, the teams aren't as consistent that are fighting for the 4th, 5th, 6th that they are at the top. So you do tend to make up. Like I think Spurs have made something like 9 points up in Chelsea in the last 3 weeks.
Because speaking of Chelsea too, like, do you remember before that Liverpool Spurs game, the 6-3 one? That Chelsea, if they had beat Everton that day, they would have been top of the league, and now they're like 18, 19 points below Liverpool. So it just shows you how it can swing. But what's your top four? How do you see it? Obviously the top two are sort of.
I thought Bournemouth had a great opportunity, but they had a bad result, didn't they, against Wolves? And it'll be interesting to see against Brighton now, because Brighton have had a wee bit of form. How they cope there, but I think Newcastle are in big danger to Man City, because I think.
Surely Man City can treat, but they're not.
No, don't know. Man City are very inconsistent too. I think Newcastle will definitely get on there and do one of those 3 spots. I think City are going to be the team that everyone expects to get on, but it's not guaranteed. Forest are struggling badly at the moment. So if I could nail my colours to one team that I think will definitely be in the Champions League outside of Liverpool and Arsenal, I think it'll be Newcastle, because European football.
And Forest next 2 games too are Arsenal and City. So
and then I think the other thing as well is if Newcastle won the League Cup, they could be on a holiday. They could be on the beach because they could be a big party, and
but that's not going to happen.
Very difficult to call. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe not for the Champions League, but if somebody come out of the pack for the Europa League or the Conference.
No,
League
I do agree. Apart from Liverpool and Arsenal, it's between 5, 6, 7, 8 teams.
Yeah, Spurs they play Forest at home too, so there's an hour chance. But look, I mean, it could all look very different after the international break, but I think for teams like Spurs and if United have any aspirations, they have to win now nearly every game. So
Oh,
it's going to be difficult.
United, no. I looked today. They're 16th.
Let's look at the midweek games. Of course, 4 games tomorrow night, 5 on Wednesday, and just the one on Thursday night. Brighton take on Bournemouth. As we says, this could be quite an interesting game. Both teams like to attack.
Yeah,
Brighton does,
these are the type of games that even though they're like mid-table teams, I'll probably watch this game because
this should be good. Both teams like to get on the ball and play. Brighton did beat Bournemouth in the reverse fixture, so Brighton looking for a double over Bournemouth here. Bournemouth will only respond.
Didn't Bournemouth dominate them in that game if I remember right as well?
Yeah, they got beat 2-1. But Brighton were 2 up early, and then it was all Bournemouth. But interesting to see how this goes because I think whoever wins this will be a big scalp.
I don't think there will be a winner though. I'm gonna go a 2-2 draw.
Bournemouth they respond. 3-1 Bournemouth.
Away to Brighton.
Crystal Palace against Aston Villa. Palace have been, have really upped their game, haven't they? 2-0, 1 away at Fulham. You see Fulham's another team you can't trust. One week they get a great result, and the next week you fancy them and they don't. So, Matera's in unbelievable form at the moment. Eze seems to be getting back to his best, and Villa, again, 1 week to the next, you don't know with them. So, I mean, this is an intriguing game.
Speaking of Palace, do you think they'll hold on to Eze this summer, or do you think this is the one where he'll get his move?
Depends where he goes. I mean, is he better than Newcastle's midfield free? I'm not so sure. Does he get into the Spurs team? 50-50. I don't think he gets into Liverpool, Arsenal's, Man City's. So I'm looking at where he can go. Like, it's difficult.
It's a hard one. But
he gets injured a lot too. So
he would fit on Spurs, but
I think he could be in Arzaha, where he's stuck there forever.
Ends up in America in 5 years. This game, I'm going to go. You know what? Because Palace are good at home, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Crystal Palace 1.
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Palace 1. Wolves take on Fulham. Wolves now 5 points ahead of the drop. And it looks very much like Wolves are really the only team that I think any of them teams can catch.
I'm raging because I predicted them. I predicted them as they go down. I wanted to be right just because of that.
I think if Wolves won this game and they are to lose, thanks if Hamptons are gone, as we spoke about, that could be it over with. I can't see.
Do you think it's getting, obviously it's been proven, but do you think it's getting harder for the newly promoted teams to compete?
I think it's the teams that are coming up too. I think if Sheffield United's playing Leeds tonight, I think if Leeds come up, Leeds will have more firepower and they'll have better players than some of these other teams have had.
Although if Sunderland go up for the playoffs, I think they'll give it a go as well.
They might have a go transfer money wise. Sheffield United have been a boomerang team, haven't they? It's actually I'm going to watch that game because it's first against second in the championship.
I would like to see Leeds come up because I know Leeds. I don't really like Leeds, but I enjoy them in the Prem.
Well, I mean, Luton are bottom of the league after getting relegated last year, so it's usually like they were freak, like they should never really come up.
They're going down to League One, but no, Wolves Fulham. It's not really an advertising game, really, is it? I'll go 1-1.
I'm going to go the same 1-1. Big game for Chelsea, Southampton. I think somebody eventually says it. They are out there. Why did they sack Russell Martin? And I says, hallelujah. That's what I says. They would have more of a chance for him.
Apparently, he's one of the contenders to get the Rangers job.
Seen that, but I mean, at least Russell Martin knows the championship. So you have a chance to get back out. I mean, I don't see your man being there next season. George.
No. Do you know who the favourite is to get the Rangers job?
Steven Gerrard.
Yep.
Back there where he belongs. Liverpool fans will fight him over again now. The Irish fans.
Nah, I couldn't care less. But no.
He doesn't end up with Liverpool manager.
No. Oh no! If that ever happened, I'd be angry. Don't think Derry would take Gerrard at this point. But no, you can't say anything but a Chelsea one here, can you? I'm gonna go. Although 3-0 Chelsea,
I'm gonna go 3-1 Chelsea. Brentford against Everton. Two teams that are on form. Brentford battered Leicester at the weekend, and they won. They won before that too. Brentford, I think they might have won 2 in a row.
I think they beat. Was it
Southampton? Was it? They definitely had a wee bit of form, Brentford. And Everton are obviously in form as well, so this could be quite an interesting one.
Aye. We Brentford. I know Everton haven't lost it. Well, no, they have. Sorry, they lost to Villa, didn't they? In the league. I'm gonna go with 2-1. Brentford won.
I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1.
United take on Ipswich. Ipswich really
Jeez.
struggling, and United are desperate for a victory. Or than
Six.
Southampton or Leicester. I think this is our team you want to play. And I have to
Six
say,
point.
Ipswich made a lot of mistakes against Spurs, so they were a bit more solid earlier in the season, but they seem to have lost that now.
6 point is.
I mean, if United don't win this, I mean, I don't know.
um. I don't think it'll be a.
It's going to be low scoring, anyway. I tell you that. There'll not be
Um,
many goals in this.
I'm gonna go 1-0 Man United. Just like
Just,
just about.
I'm going to go 2-1, 2-1 United. Forest take on Arsenal. These next three games are particularly interesting. Forest
Mhm.
take on Arsenal. Arsenal virtually it's must win now. They have any chance of reeling in Liverpool, and this
Yeah,
is difficult. I know Forest have had a wee bit of a blip, but they are particularly strong at home, so this will be a real challenge for Arsenal.
it will be, but I think they'll get it done. Just I'll go 2-1 Arsenal.
I'm going to go 1-1. Spurs take on Man City. Spurs have a brilliant recent record against Man City. Really, since Pep's been there, they've won basically as many. I think they've won as many as Pep has won against us. So
Yeah.
it's a fixture that Spurs usually enjoy, and Spurs have got players back where Man City have a few injuries. So
All these games are on TV, aren't they?
yeah, we're all on TNT Sports. So
Right.
I mean, there are usually goals in these Spurs Man City games. So I mean, this is probably that, and the Liverpool Newcastle game will probably be the pick of the games on Wednesday. But City are struggling at the back. Spurs aren't great at keeping clean sheets, and they can score goals. So I can see a fair few goals in this.
I'm gonna go for a mad one. I'm gonna go 4-3 Spurs.
4-3. I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs. I think they'll beat Man
3-1.
City again.
So
Liverpool Newcastle is the 8:15 game. A very, very traditional Premier League fixture. It's produced some classics over the years. Of course, this will be a dress rehearsal for the League Cup final as well. And they produced a 6-goal draw earlier in the season when they met at St James's Park. So again, every reason they think there should be goals. And look, Isaac's one of them defenders that I don't think Van Dijk enjoys. So I mean, this will be an interesting one to see how Isak and Van Dijk match up again.
it's it'll be tougher than a lot of people think, but I think the momentum Liverpool have and the fact we're at home, I think we'll get it done. I'm gonna go 2-1 Liverpool.
I'm going to go 2-2.
So you think both teams will drop points this week?
Yeah. And finally, Thursday night, West Ham, Leicester.
Ugh.
Again, this is the game they booked for the Thursday night. I don't know. Maybe they thought this could potentially be a relegation scrap when they picked the fixtures. But of course, Leicester have been pretty poor. And West Ham got that big result the weekend. So, I mean, they're virtually safe from relegation. So, I think West Ham could go back to back here.
Again, I don't think it's going to be a particularly exciting game. I'll go 2-0 West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder will Ruud van Nistelrooy get sacked, but apparently Leicester have no money to sack him. So
Why
I'm
bring
going to
him?
go. I'm going to go 2-0 West Ham as well.
Begs the question: why bring him in first?
We will smash Newcastle, lads.
Hopefully, I hope you're right.
I don't know, hey? Newcastle are decent.
But that's the thing; they can't defend. So
No, well, that's it. But it'll be a different type of game. Liverpool will attack Newcastle a lot more than they would attack Man City. It was more counter attack against Man City. Liverpool did. Newcastle was the team trying to do Liverpool, but Liverpool did the Man City. So it's a different type of game.
it'll be interesting, but it won't be 0-0 anyway. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Owen, thanks for coming on. It's been an interesting show. Plenty discussed there. Of course, there is a break for the FA Cup this weekend. Some teams in action, but obviously Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Spurs all out. So Manchester clubs will have a big eye on that FA Cup this weekend, as well as Newcastle and Aston Villa. But
I would love this. I would love to see Villa win the FA Cup, just
Villa,
because they're a club that then never really gets to these. Like they got the
I
final.
would love to see Newcastle in the League Cup because it's a club that never gets to these things. So
Would you? I wonder. Would you have said that on Spurs had I got the final?
of course not. But
I forgot Villa put you out as well.
yeah, we'll be back on Thursday night. Stefan will be on the show discussing where it all went wrong for Arsenal this season. So be
He'll
sure to
probably
tune in
say,
to that.
No, he'll probably say they're unlucky. Liverpool have some voodoo against us, or I don't know.
Yeah,
He'll
there's
come up
only
with
so long
something.
he can throw that stone. Eventually, it comes
Yeah.
back. So, if you're new around here, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more content. And we'll be back on Thursday night, looking back at the week games and, of course, speaking in depth about Arsenal and where it has gone wrong so far this season. For anyone that watched, thanks very much for tuning in and thanks for your comments. As I says, we'll be back on Thursday. Thanks very much.
Cheers.